Hi there, and welcome back to the amazing collection unboxing. We are on box 75. Can you believe it? And this week I picked a box that says Briar Jamboree models. I was there for all of them. We'll see if I remember anything. Could be questionable. First model is not a Briar, is not a Jamboree model. This collector tricked me. 500 demerits. This is a Peter Stone. Yes, this is a Peter Stone model, boys and girls. It was the first Peter Stone released. Sculpted by Chris Hess, probably for Briar, and then never released, and then asked by Peter Stone to kind of redo the mold a little bit and re-released as Trouble. So this is their version, the Peter Stone version of a wood grain. Definitely different from the Briar wood grains, both in tone and application of paint. He looks more like they just kind of streaked him with probably a sponge or something. But a nice effect, and especially nice on this mold because it's a little more primitive, definitely not as technically accurate as we're used to seeing nowadays. It's a nice color on this mold, and I think it was one of the first colors on this mold. So probably mid 90s. I can't remember when the first Peter Stone breakfast was, but he is a Peter Stone Trouble sculpted by Chris Hess. Well, at least we have a Briar, but this is also not a Jamboree model. This is the Briar Western horse. I'll get to do a little bit of nerdy rambling. The collector paid $18 for this piece. He does not have his reins, and he has what's called the slip saddle. So this was molded in the solid plastic, the same plastic of the horse, and it had no cinch. The original Briar Western horse and pony had a different, more flexible plastic of the saddle, and it had a cinch. So even though this is a glossy black and white Pinto Western horse, we know that it is later in the run. It'll be up in the 1970s sometimes because of this saddle. And it was released for a very long period of time, so there's also a few other hallmarks in the paint job, but this saddle is just one of those things that you know is a little bit later in the Briar Western horse and pony. Oh, we have a rider, but it's not a Briar rider. This is a Hartland. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, we also have another non-Briar, non-Jamboree, so maybe the collector picked them up at Jamboree. This is the Heartland Champ. Heartland Champ came first. Briar Western horse came later. And I think this says Roy Rogers on the bubble wrap. And he doesn't quite want to fit on his horse. Over the years, his feet have kind of gotten a little too narrow for him. This also has a slip saddle, and I'm not familiar enough with Heartlands to know if they had cinches or not, but he has his hat, but he has two spots for guns that he doesn't have. Nope, doesn't have. So, since we've got these two, let's look. There are a lot of differences and similarities between these horses because they were resculpted many times over the years. The molds were retooled. The easy way is the Heartland has the mane on the right, the Briar has the mane on the left. The Heartland has kind of this wiggly tail, the Briar has more of a straight tail. If they still have their accoutrements, the Heartland will either have kind of the bubble chain like you would have on a keychain, or they call it lace, but it's really plastic. It confused me for a long time for the reins, whereas the Briar will have a bit, and then he'll either have O-link or kind of the twisted link reins. There are a lot more differences and similarities, but this was the original Heartland Champ that was on the horse clock for Mastercrafters. They've had some kind of a falling out. Mastercrafters asked Briar to make a Western horse. That's why we have the now Briar Western horse. And there's your little bit of history. So I don't know much more than that, but we have a Briar and a Heartland Western horse with a rider. Doesn't look like Roy Rogers to me. Oh, it just says rider. Sorry. Briar, or a Heartland Champ with rider. This is a Jamboree, but it is not a Briar. I can't remember which years. 2 different years. Cheryl Leisure, who hosted Jamboree, had Hagen Renaker make special runs. Can't remember how many were made, a couple hundred, maybe 200 or so. I think this is Happy Trails, their specialty rearing horse. There was one other kind of in a red dun, if I remember, a couple of years earlier. So this would have been early 2000s, if I remember correctly. And he is a very nice Palomino, Happy Trails. So he was one of the Western themed years, because all the Jamborees had themes. So there's our first actual Jamboree. Now we'll see if we can get a Briar Jamboree. Now we have a few. Okay, this is the first Briar Jamboree model. We'll see if I cannot trip myself up, because this might get confusing. So this is a Briar rearing horse, which is the smaller size. The bigger size is the Fighting Stallion in buckskin. I'm not going to say. I think this was 1994. So the first Jamboree, Briar Model Horse Jamboree, don't even remember if that was the name officially, was held in 1992. I think they only had Heartlands if they had any special runs. The next year, we got this guy, who may or may not have a name, who is a buckskin rearing stallion. I think they made maybe 400. It was a pretty small run size. Proved very popular, even though he is a traditional, considered traditional. He's not considered a classic, but he's much smaller than his rearing stallion brethren. So this was the first Briar Jamboree special run horse. Then I think this guy was next, so if that was 93, this will be 94. This is Sham in a liver chestnut. Really pretty, really attractive. Oh my gosh, we all went crazy. Still a pretty small run size for that time, especially. He was maybe 400, this guy was maybe 500. Cheryl does such a great job of matching colors and horses. So you could only get this guy if you went to Jamboree or you had a friend that went and picked one up for you. They were only for the event. And really pretty, really nice. This was probably one of my favorite models for a very long time. The liver chestnut looks really good on him. So I think this guy is 1994. And after that, it gets confusing. Well, this is a Hartland. Oh good, he has stuff with him. That'll make it easier for me. So this is the Hartland walking thoroughbred, with all kinds of fun stuff. He has his Heartland keychain and leather, and he has lots of trading cards of Kris Kringle and all kinds of others. So, but none actually go with him. Gonna test me. So again, at every Jamboree there was usually a special run. It could be a Briar, it could be a Heartland, it could be a Hagen Renaker. So I think this was, and I wasn't a Heartland collector, so I honestly didn't pay really close attention when the Heartlands came out. But this was the Heartland special run for whatever year it was the Heartland special run for. And there you have it. So this is another Briar special run. This is, I think his name was Eureka. It's the Adios mold. The theme that year was kind of the old Gold West, gold mining kind of thing. So it's the Gold Rush Gala, the Model Horse Collectors Jamboree, Eureka. Doesn't tell me what year though. Maybe this does. Well, this says 2001, even though it's for a Peter Stone horse. Eureka. Oh, this is 1998. So I'm going to say this was 1998 Eureka, a limited Briar special run in buckskin paint. So if these guys, which were mid-90s, were like in the 400, 500s, then they kind of went up to 800 and 1,000. So I think there was probably around 1,000 made of these guys. So he has his little trading card, and he has his hang tag, and then he has some other random accoutrements that snuck in with him. Then we have a Briar, oh no, this is the Heartland Collectors Club 2001. Little type tack pin. Then we have Kris Kringle. This was another Jamboree special run. Doesn't she do great colors and models? He came with a hang tag. Kris Kringle, Jingle Bell Jamboree 1997. So this is probably one of the 800 to 1,000 special runs. Really pretty. This is one of the nicer ones that I've seen. Very contrasty with the light on the top and then the dark. And he's got some splatter dapples, all just kind of in a line along his belly and legs. But just a really nice color. And this was a very popular mold, the original Frisian, sculpted by, I think, Jeannie Mellon. Very popular for a long time. Probably still my favorite over that other Frisian that Briar makes. But that's just me. So this is Rejoice, or Fanfare. I can't remember which is which. What's the mold name and what's the color? What's the special run? But she comes with stickers, so I should know. Oh, this is the West Coast Model Horse Collectors Jamboree Champagne Toast. On the Rejoice mold, a gorgeous metallic palomino, and she comes with her trading card and a bunch of other little Briar stuff. Dixieland Dinner, June 24th, 2000. So they made a few more as they were getting up into the 2000s. So there might have been 1,200 maybe made of her. The only reason I don't like her is because she's so darn tippy, because that's a gorgeous paint job on that horse. Next, we have, this is the Legionario mold. I'm getting lots of stuff accumulated here. Oh, and won a 5th place ribbon at the Mississippi Valley Model Horse Live Show 1984, so that doesn't go with him. This is from Jamboree 1995. Dark dapple gray Legionario 3 with dapples. Just a perfect fit of mold and color. I really haven't seen another color that I like as well on this mold. It suits his Renaissance Baroque style a lot. And he still has his little hang tag. If you have these, you probably don't want to hang them on your models, especially models like Kris Kringle that are white, because the fabric and the color of the hang string can rub off on the model. So if you do have them, just keep them with the model. Don't let them touch. And we have another pin. This is the Briar 50th anniversary, 1950 to 2000 kind of tie-tack pin. And our last horse, I think her name's Flabe Hoppin'. It is the Gem Twist mold in a Leopard Appaloosa. I like this color on this mold. The mold is stylistic, very Currier and Ives, and I think it was a winter-themed jamboree that she was made for. Now this one gives me giggles because they literally painted, these are hand-painted dapples, so they're not the Resist dapple. They actually had to take and paint all of these dapples on by hand. They actually painted all the way up onto her face. She has dapples up on her cheekbones and on her mouth and on... I'm like, oh, I love you sometimes, but it's just not quite right. But again, I think it's a good paint job for this mold. It's a nice kind of a crazy, attractive, fun paint job on a not extremely realistic mold with red, white, and blue in her main ribbons. So for the most part, we do have most of the Briar special runs from Jamboree, from the Model Horse West Coast Collectors Jamboree from 1992 through 2004. So hope you enjoyed this. It was a trip down memory lane for me, and join me next week and we'll see what we find.